Hey, you got a call.
Oh, it's not for me.
Probably looking guy named Simon.
It's me.
Okay, the restaurant. Can I talk about the restaurant scene?
Yeah.
Because it had a big implication. Just that one shot, that restaurant in the restaurant, was where we reveal Jesse, and he's supposedly, we cut from a scene in the courtyard where he's just left his double, and he's left alone, and we see a shot of him, and that's supposed to be a shot in the courtyard. But then we fade up the lights in the restaurant, and we see that he's now on the date, and because there's really only one type of light that can do this, or just, you know, old school lights that can fade up all together, so everything had to be old school lights, and that kind of set the tone for basically the rest of the film, which is then we had to use that type of light, or we decided that would be the right way to go. Everything would be dimmable, everything would be controllable, so we could cue things, because that's something that Richard likes a lot, which is, you know, little, not tricks, but just little nuances that can change in shot, or little gags, or little something. So that actually was that one shot was a major kind of setting a lot of the technical kind of backdrop for the whole film. And then one of the other things that we decided was talking about the look of the film was how, if it couldn't be black and white, because that was one, we spoke about it being black and white, but then decided, okay, maybe if it's not black and white, let's go really strong color. There's not many colors, but when there is a color, it's very strong. So Hannah wears blue, that's her thing. There's the blue and the yellow of the office, and there's the red lift, and there's a few things like that kind of that come around. So we want to make a very strong color and not very grainy, so we need to use slow film stock, which meant that we needed more lights, and these are the older lights, which are not very efficient, so we need lots of them, and everything became very heavy, as in sort of production wise or setup wise, and in metal and machinery and cables. So that was one of the things that, for me, differed this from the submarine experience with Richard, which was we didn't really use any lights. We just had available lights and just used what was there, and we shot where it was possible to shoot. But this was not like that at all, where everything was lit, and everything was lit kind of, we needed lots of light, and it was very involved and rigged and, yeah, complicated. There's one, apparently, I think there's one shot that made it in, which is a shot when Mia is in bed, and you see it from across the courtyard, because that was too big for us to do, so we did that just that magic hour. But then, so that, I think that snuck in. I'm not very happy about it, but we couldn't, it was insane to try to do it ourselves. But then the rest of it, there's no natural light, or if there is any natural light, then at least we've added something to it, or there's some unnatural light at all times, which which is wonderful. I mean, it's slightly a dream, but it meant that the actual shooting was very slow. I think a bit too slow, a bit too painful, and I know that Richard would like to, you know, not be as slow as that, but there was really no other way to achieve this look, really. And once you start with something, you kind of settle into that's kind of the way this film is going to work. You know, in the first kind of week, or in the first couple of days, you know, okay, this is the speed of this film. This is how this will. So it wasn't never more than like 15 shots a day, which is, you know, from submarine, which at least 25, maybe 30 some days, which is a lot more fluid and simple. And there's things like in the office when Richard came in and we'd finally done the pre-lighting, which was a week of stuff, and he comes in and you know, this office there, and then looks up and it's just lights. The whole ceiling is lights. Okay, so no low angles, I guess. And it's like, you know, yeah, I know, but you know, it needs to be done, and it's, yeah, I think, you know, having seen the film and having seen some grade, I think it's worth it, but it'd be lovely to be a little bit freer than we were at times. I think it was just, yeah. Yeah, for all the train slash subway or whatever it is sequence, the train sequences, that was, because it has to feel part of this world, this very constructed theatrical world. I mean, that's kind of seemed like the right thing for this film, and I think I've been to this Aldwych station before where you can shoot on the tube, but it's crazy expensive. You can't really do anything. It's hard to light. And I think in a real tube station, you can at best make it look like a tube station. You can't really change it into anything else because it's so expensive just to be there. And then to try to change something, it's just escalates out of control. And it's hard to work with a moving train because you can't, you set up some lights and it passes and it's gone and you can't, it's hard to change what's there. So it was, I don't know, for me, it's slightly a dream scenario that we decided to do the poor man's process. And so basically just have our sort of train car on the spot, and we just move lights past it instead and try to do it that way. And David Crank, designer, the lovely, wonderful production designer, came up with various ideas because he has a maybe a more realistic grasp on how expensive things are. And he had the great idea of converting an old American school bus into, because it had the right shape and blah, blah, blah. Because, in my mind, you just make a train out of some wood. But apparently it's not as easy as that. So what we ended up with was sort of 2/3 of a train carriage with a fake end at one end. And then, but everything was there and it looked, they adjusted it so it looked like it, and they had a door and it had all the things. And that was in these tracks they made and built this train station and everything. It was like it's not like a kid's dream. It was like we can make it our thing, and quite enjoyed it. And then they had a big forklift that could rock it up and down. So everything, if everyone sits still and they try to move like this, it never really works. So that was one of the key things as well, to try to make that move properly, and they figured that out. And and then the lighting part was, lots of spinning mirrors and things like that. Like, what you get from what they used to do, I think. And that was it. We looked at it's embarrassing, the very classic train station, A Brief Encounter, of course. There's some wonderful shots in that where you see the woman's face and the light goes, well, that's kind of, we have to do that. And that's kind of what we ended up doing. But of course we tried to do as much as we could, just, of course, a big Reagan setup and all that, nonsense. But I think it makes it a lot more, for some bizarre reason, more real in our world than a real train would have been, to go out on the real, because that would have been too normal or too recognizable. This is sort of the movie version, or this is kind of the fantasy version of what it's like to be on a tube train. It's not like that at all. It's quite boring to be in a tube train. But this was our kind of fantasy of it. The vertical thing is fine. I mean, everything to do with filming, once you have a camera, you forget where you are. So the vertical thing is, I never mind. It's only when you stop and you kind of try to do something, if you don't think about filming and you look down, then it's terrifying. But this is, I'm much more impressed by Jesse standing on actually a tiny little ledge. He had a rope on him, but he was just, it wasn't tied in. I don't know, maybe I've been lucky and mostly worked with actors who really, there's no kind of trouble or no divas or no. Maybe it's a thing when you work with really good actors, they don't need to, I don't know, they want to do it. They're there because they want to do it, and they decided they're not doing this because, I don't know, they're obviously not doing this for the paycheck. I can imagine, so they want to be there and they want to give everything, and it's kind of, it is impressive that someone who's not only in every scene but in every scene twice, or in most scenes twice, wants to be there for the inserts and for the the hand inserts and for this and for the shadow and for the offlines and for the all these kind of things. And I think maybe I've just been lucky to have had some experiences like that, but I always find it very impressive that someone, this is, I think they take, pride. Someone like Jesse takes enormous pride in his work, and he wants it to be right. It was very good. It was a really well put together crew. I think it was not only necessary because it was so intense and so hard, but it was really well. Yeah, it was just, it was really well done. As in, from the organization and from the putting together and from the things and from Jack, the first AD, who led everything, who's really, just the right person, who's just who has the sensibility of doing things, making things move, but not being overpowering in the wrong way, or doing, I think it was properly well done, and I think everybody got, it seems like to me that everybody got into it, and maybe sometimes because something is reaching, I think most films try to reach further than they actually have the money for, but everyone kind of seemed to enjoy it. I met Richard on a Arctic Monkeys concert film that a friend of mine and a friend of his, Dermot Scrimshaw, was producing, and Danny Cohen was shooting it, and they needed 5 operators, and so I was drafted in as one of the operators, and that's where I first met Richard. Really, that was it. And then he asked me after that to go and shoot a music video, and then we did a couple of music videos together, and then we did Submarine and then this, which was great. I think the whole thing of trying something new, as in, okay, now we're going to make this film, this needs to exist in this world. Okay, what does this world look like and feel like? Okay, we look at some references, we try to come up with something, and you start shaping an idea and you kind of decide that, okay, let's make these rules for ourselves. That's kind of, it seems to work, that, okay, we need some limitations on, you can't just do anything because then it fizzles out of it. So together with Andy, the gaffer, we're kind of, okay, these are the lights we're going to use, only those, and this is how we're going to do everything, and it's only going to be hard, like we're going to use soft light, we're only going to use this, and okay, how do we get this? And you kind of, you learn, you have to find out ways of doing something you'd never thought of before. Maybe you knew a simpler way of doing it, or maybe this new way is even, I don't know, maybe it's simpler, maybe it's harder, but these are the rules you have to play by. And then seeing the film, I thought it paid off. I thought it really paid off, and it was really rewarding to see all these limitations, and we made not made things harder for ourselves, but there was a lot of things that you could possibly do simpler, but when you see the result, you see the way it was done was actually I think for me it was the right way, or it seemed like the right way, and that was worth it.
What is so unique about him?
You're not thinking of killing yourself, are you?
No. Should I put him down as a no?
Put him down as a maybe.
This guy just started. Why can't you work like that?
This man is a fraud.
Stop following me!
He stole my face. This is not me. This is not me, sir! Look at me! Look at me! Look at him! He stole my face! So that's it?
That's it.